Look at this gorgeous roast beef, folks. Beautiful, thin sliced roast beef ready for sandwich. Mmm, that tastes good. Today, I'm going to be making roast beef sandwiches. Now, as you've seen from the title, I said Arby's roast beef, okay? But the thing of it is that's a proprietary formula put in a bag and then roasted up. And it's a bunch of small cuts that are kind of all put together with gelatin and fat and cooked up in a special way so that when it's finished, it's congealed into a meat mass that is flat delicious. It's juicy and it has a beefy flavor to it that's just unparalleled. Guys, let me tell you something. When I was a little kid, I got hooked on Arby's. I was about, I think 5, maybe 6 years of age. My father took me to Arby's for the first time. I had my first Arby's roast beef sandwich, and I was hooked. I insisted that he buy me another, which he did. And after that, it was funny, he insisted I eat it all, which I gladly did. It wasn't a problem. He was surprised I ate it all. But after that, I was forever hooked. I still love Arby's sandwiches. Just one problem. In some places, they're kind of hard to get to. Dallas, Texas, you would think there would be a bunch of Arby's here, right? Nope. There's like one. All right? And it's like 6 miles away from me. I'm not going to drive all that just for a sandwich occasionally. No. Now, if there was one within a mile, I'd probably get it on a weekly basis. And then the other Arby's around here are all like 15 miles away from me. They're all out in the burbs. Well, folks, I don't want to do that. No. But sometimes I just want to kick back at the house and cook up some roast beef just for sandwiches, but I would like it to be as good as that. Well, you know, like I said, theirs is a mixture of a lot of things. There's some, I can't say for sure, but if I were going to try to duplicate it, what I would do is I would take the meat from the lower shanks of the cow and also the ox tail meat. Their tail meat is perfect for this. All of that gelatin that's in there. Free all of that up from the bones and then mix it into the bag together with a little bit of water, okay? And it'll give you that gelatiny, gooey, weird feeling like theirs has. You add in the right salts to that, seal it, and then roast it. Now, if I was going to do that recipe, that's the way I would do that. But that's a lot of extra work and items that most folks won't find easy to get, like beef shanks and oxtails are not at every grocery store, all right? So what we're going to do is approach this a little more common sense way. We're going to just use a regular roast. I'm going to use a bottom round for this. And I'm going to fix it in a special way. We're going to mix together some salts. Now understand something. If you go to Arby's website and you look at the ingredients and what's in their roast beef, it's beef, water, and monosodium phosphates. Okay, now I didn't say monosodium glutamate, I said monosodium phosphates, which is a generalized term that's used for a mixture of salts. All right, monosodium phosphate, not plural phosphates, but monosodium phosphate is a type of salt that in its characteristics is very, very similar to monosodium glutamate. In fact, when you put the molecules side by side, models of them, it's very hard to tell the two apart. They are not identical, but they are very similar. And what they do when it comes to tasting the beef is very similar. They both have the same reaction on the tongue, which is to open up certain receptors in your taste buds that allow you to taste more of the beef or whatever food it is you're tasting. So that's the advantage of monosodium glutamate or monosodium phosphate. They do that to the palate, even though you can't really taste them. They don't taste like salt. But you put regular salt in there with it, and suddenly it tastes salt, and the salt tastes saltier, but the beef tastes beefier. And so you can use less salt with it. It's a win-win. It allows them to show that they lowered the sodium level, and hey, we don't have monosodium glutamate. And guys, monosodium glutamate's not bad. It's in your body. It's in your spinal fluid. It's part of glutamic acid, which is, your body makes this, all right? So you already have monosodium glutamate inside of you and your body makes it. So don't say you can't have it or you'll die, because it's already there. Okay. What we're going to do is I'm going to mix together some salt to approximate what they do in their roasts with their monosodium phosphates. And also I'm going to show you a way of cooking up a roast that locks the juice inside of it, that seals it so that it doesn't lose what it has. And it's going to be much more similar to the way Arby's roasts their roast beef. So let me show you these neat little goodies I've got back here. And we're going to get busy making a fantastic roast beef that you can use for sandwiches, both hot or cold, and it's flat delicious. Ladies and gentlemen, today I give you roast beef sandwiches. Kind of like Arby's, but not quite the same. Let's get at it. Come on. Now folks, when you're doing your roast beef for roast beef sandwiches, it's as simple as you need a good cut of meat and you need fat on that meat. So choose something that's like a select cut, choose a choice cut. Your select cuts are not going to have enough fat running through them. If you get a select cut, make sure that it has a big band of fat on it. If you'll notice, I've got a lot of fat on the bottom of this roast. Now, in addition, if you don't have that band of fat, you might want to coat the outside of the meat with some lard or tallow, or even just some oil, like olive oil would work well, in just giving it some sort of fat, okay? Now, a good strong solid fat though works best, like lard. So if your meat doesn't have any fat at all and you got a really lean cut, you might want to consider larding it before we treat it with our salt. Now the salts we're going to be using today are going to be a coarse grain sea salt and MSG. These that I'm using today, you don't have to use coarse grain salt because we're going to be milling it. But the measurements I'm taking are off the coarse grain, okay? Now when it comes to MSG, don't be afraid of it. It is a natural occurring thing in your body, so it's real and it's okay, and it's used all over the world in food, and it's safe. And it brings out flavors in ways you can't imagine. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix this together in just the right way. We're going to get this treated with the salts, wrapped up in just the right way, so that when I roast it, it's going to produce a very, very special flavor and a very, very special texture. So we're going for both on this. We need good, and that's what I'm going to make. This is going to be some perfect roast for sandwiches. Now in addition, you want a great bun. I am going to be using a French brioche, and I'm going to recommend that because it's got a strong flavor to it. It's made with egg and a lot of other ingredients that just bring out a robust flavor in bread. So a good French brioche is a nice option when you're doing a sandwich that's going to be special. For this, I'm going to be using a coarse grain sea salt. And I use this commonly in cooking, all right? And this is what I normally keep around. So that's what I'm going to work with. There we go. Let's go ahead and mill those together. All right, let's get on with fixing it up. Now that the salt is all mixed up, I'm going to liberally apply it, okay? Don't be afraid to use plenty of salt here. All right? I'm going to take it and rub it right into that, all over it. Now there's going to be a little salt that hits the board and is lost. Don't worry about that. And if it looks like there's a lot of salt going on in this, well, remember folks, it's 4 pounds of meat. If you were to make steaks out of that, you would be using as much salt on those steaks, all right? So don't fear this at all. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this wrapped up, and we have to wrap it tightly in plastic wrap. Now if you're thinking, hold it, you're going to roast in plastic wrap? Well, yeah, I am. I'm going to roast in plastic wrap. Guys, this is commonly done in restaurants, in commercial food preparation, so don't be afraid of it. Cooking in plastic wrap seals in the juices in meats, and it makes for extra juicy entrees. Okay, so this is done a lot and it works, but you have to cover the plastic wrap with foil. So we're going to do a double coating on this, or double wrapping I should say, and turn it into something special. Now let's get the wrap out here and get on to that next step. Now folks, I've laid out plastic wrap, one strip running this way and one strip running this way, and that is to wrap it up completely. The idea here is to have absolutely nothing that's left exposed. So if I wrapped it just this way, we have those ends exposed, and I did not want that. Okay, so I'm going to wrap that down, and I'm going to bring this over, thereby sealing that end really nice and tight. Okay. I'll do the same thing over here. I'll bring him over, sealing that down, and then fold this down and pull him over. Now I've wrapped it once with the fat down, all right? And I'm going to reverse that process. I'm going to turn it over and then wrap it next time with the fat side up, the exact same way I did this. Okay, so let's do that twice. Okay, my meat is all ready to get wrapped. Now I'm going to do this the same way I did before, and I want to end up cooking it fat side up like this. So we're going to first wrap it this way. And again, this needs to be tight. So what do we want to do? How about this? Pull this out. And then this. And pull this out. And if you want, these two sides can be sealed. Sorry about that noise. I'm going to turn that and fold it. And the same thing over here. I'm going to lay it over flat. Now these ends, I'm going to press them down like this. Bring it up, just like so. Bring it up. Take this and wrap it like that. All right, I'm going to do this again, and it's going to be put in the wrap just like so. Now we have our second sheet ready to go. As I said, I'm going to put that seam down. That probably isn't necessary to do this twice, but guess what? I just like being thorough. After all, the whole idea here is to seal in moisture, right? All right, let's go ahead, get that one right there. It's probably not necessary to put it in there, but I like to do it just in case I do get some leaking on my juices. Also, if you want to make sure that those don't scorch on the bottom of the pan and cause a bad smell, put a little water in there. It's not going to hurt a thing, okay? Put the lid on it, put it in the oven, 325 to 350, and give it plenty of time, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we have it in here, and one last thing I want to mention is a little water in there. I'm going to put in just a cup in the bottom of this, and all that's going to do is just make sure that if anything leaks out of the roast, it won't burn on the bottom of the pot and create a foul odor, okay? That's all that does. We have it ready for cooking now. Okay, folks, down in our oven, 350 degrees. There we go. That's down in the oven, and I am looking forward to roast beef sandwiches. Now, so you'll know, how long do we cook it? Well, this is a kind of by the pound kind of thing. We're looking at 20 to 25 minutes to the pound at 350, and that depends on several different factors. Your altitude, how much fat's on the roast is going to make a difference, believe it or not. How we have it wrapped, that slows that cooking down a little bit. It's not open roast. All right, so I'm looking at probably about 2 hours of cook time if I add on about an extra 30 minutes for the initial heat up due to the wrap that we gave it. So I've got a 30-minute heat up time and then about 20 to 25 minutes to the pound. Short side of that for a medium, long side of that to medium well. And I think for sandwiches, like what I'm going to be doing, I like medium well. So I'm going to leave it in there for a little while. We're going to get it cooked up, and then we're going to slice it thin and make some sandwiches. Patience. The amount of what we used today, I started with a roast that was almost 4 pounds. And this is a bottom round, okay? So it comes from the back of the cow there, and it is a great choice for roasting. Also, I'm using coarse grain sea salt and MSG. And in addition, we used the brioche buns. Now, quantities on these, I used about 2 tablespoons of the coarse grain sea salt to 1 teaspoon of monosodium glutamate, and those are then milled together. If you are using a fine grain table salt, reduce that to about 1.5 tablespoons, okay? The conversion isn't exactly that much, but it has a more pungent flavor to it, those ground salts do, than does sea salt. So if you go with the ground salt, I would say reduce it to 1.5 tablespoons to 1 teaspoon of the MSG, and you're going to get a good mix that way. The number of buns you're going to need depends on how many people you have eating, but easily this roast is going to feed 12 people. If I want, I can stretch it up to about 18 or 20 people. Oh. Oh, yes. Now, all of my water has evaporated. There is a little bit of juice that cooked out on the bottom. I can smell it, but it's nothing that made a mess. Take a look down in here. There you go. Now, as you can see, down there on the edge under the roast, there's just a little bit that weeped out. At this point, I'm going to allow this to just slowly cool. It needs plenty of rest time. So at least 30 minutes, 30 to 40 would be best. And then we're going to open it up and take a look at what it's like on the inside. Oh, I can't wait. This is a beautiful way to do a piece of meat. It just seals everything in and it produces the most elegant flavors. Okay, let's take a look at this. I've given it about 40 minutes of rest time now, which of course allows me to touch it. And so you'll know it did weep some fat, and it's down in the bottom of the pan now. Now the meat isn't going to have some real special, beautiful look to it. It's going to be kind of gray. Now let's take a look inside of our meat. I'm going to just take some thin cuts right off the outside here. There we have it. It's all sliced up and beautiful. Folks, there you have it. A wonderful roast beef for making sandwiches. Make sure your knife is very sharp so you can get a good thin slice on it. All right, now I'm going to assemble my sandwich. As I like to say, for dishes like this, appearance matters, all right? So the way this is presented, the way it looks on the outside of the bun, I think is going to make a huge difference in how it's received. There we go. Now that is what I call a roast beef sandwich. This is your Papa size version. There we have it. I went ahead, sliced all of the meat, and got it right back down inside of its own juices. Now folks, this is definitely worth trying. My sandwich is finished up. It's beautiful. I really like the way I pulled that off. So, one last thing to do. Enjoy it. Is it like Arby's? No. Is it good? Oh yes. beefy flavors. It's not salty. Even though there was a lot of salt used on the outside of that roast, it seemed like there's way too much, but it wasn't too much, it was just right. The flavors are there. And like I said, it's not quite like Arby's, but theirs is a whole different preparation. Ladies and gentlemen, this is delicious and it's something you should try. When you get a chance to tap into a roast beef that's homemade and delicious, I think you're going to be quite satisfied. Also, if you want to make an au jus for this, it's very simple. It's sitting in the bottom of the pan. Just pour it up and enjoy it, and it will be delicious. I'd like to say thank you very much for watching this episode, for watching Texas Cooking Today. Hey, if you haven't done so already, please take a look at my channel. Take a look at all the recipes that I have. This one, kind of basic, but a lot of my recipes go into detail. And if you want to find some complicated recipes, but a lot of fun, my channel has a lot of them. They'll really challenge you. If you would take a look there, please subscribe if you haven't. To my subscribers, guys, thank you very much. Please take a look at Patreon. Here we go. Patreon.com/Stuart Trotter. If you would please take a look at that. That's just about what I'm doing with funding some of this as well as photography that I am moving towards as well. If you would please help out if you can do so. If you're interested in helping with the arts, that's wonderful. And folks, please do me one last favor. Just have a good day. Thank you very much. Oh, come on, you. Yeah.